The Calcutta Anglo-Indian Christmas by Warren Brown. Christmas has arrived, and here is what we can all look forward to as we celebrate a Calcutta Anglo-Indian Christmas. Fowl feathers and the Calcutta Christmas turkey. The poultry market was just behind the pork shops. As George passed the poultry section, he could not help but pinch his nose and try to stop breathing, from the pungent odor which was emanating from the large baskets of poultry. There were all types of birds being sold here, from chickens to ducks, country fowls, and there were also tortoise meat being cut and sold. During Christmas this market would be filled with large baskets of live turkeys. The sellers would cut the neck of the bird once bought, throw the decapitated bird into a large metal can filled with boiling water and close the lid on it. The large can would move from side to side as the bird was in its death throes. Once the movement of the bird in the metal bucket stopped, the bird seller would pull out the limp body of the blooded feathered bird and rip the feathers off. He would then proceed to chop the bird into the required amount of pieces and remove the insides if the buyer did not want it. As he rushed through, George saw John Deerbrew picking up a large country fowl by its legs, holding it upside down to check to see if the bird was healthy, as he bargained with the fowl seller on the price. John saw George and waved out to him, as George waved back at him and rushed out of the entrance of the large bird marketplace. The Christmas fair. The fair was in progress. Music was blaring on the loudspeakers on every street in the city of Calcutta. There was a blend of Western and Bollywood music being played in the city. Indian songs were in the air over Collin Street, while Jim Reeves and Elvis Presley could be heard from Sandal Street and Elliott Road. There were a variety of stalls on every street corner set up for the street fair. The Symonds Sisters had their stall selling all their crochet and needlework pieces. Agnes Fleming and her 6 daughters were selling Anglo-Indian dishes at their stall. Chang and her family were selling dumplings, chowmein and mixed fried rice at their stall. Abdul's Calcutta rolls shop was also getting a long line of customers. These were some of the best rolls. There were 4 men in the shop. 2 men kept frying parathas, while one prepared skewers of chicken and mutton kebabs. The 4th worker took the orders and prepared the rolls for the customers. There were potato rolls, vegetable rolls, chicken rolls, mutton rolls, egg and chicken rolls, egg and mutton rolls. Abdul and his brothers were doing good business making and selling the tastiest rolls for the street fair. There were game stalls and there were snack stalls which were all crowded. There was no vacant spot on the Calcutta Christmas street fair, which was around every street corner in the city. Calcutta Christmas Queen. The competition for the Calcutta Christmas Queen was being held at the Excelsior Club on Cowringhe Road. The young pretty girls from all over the city of Calcutta were present in their colourful evening gowns. The Amigos were the band from Bombay which was performing on the night. Agnes Fleming and her 6 daughters were all dressed up in their shimmering evening gowns. Tracy, Karen and Annabelle Smith came with their school friends for the Summer Queen dance and competition. All the slim young teenagers wore some of the most pretty designed tailored dresses. The eldest sister Tracy had done a course in tailoring from the Usher Sewing and Design School, and she had also won an International Fashion Award when her designs were displayed at the Milan Fashion Show. Julie, Heather and Serena Brown were all beautiful girls, but were not as attractive as the Smith sisters. Julie and Heather were short and slightly overweight, while their youngest sister Serena was tall and lanky at 16 years old. Everyone said that Serena would grow up to be a beautiful girl after she grew out of her awkward teenage phase. The girls started to walk down the catwalk, as the Amigos band performed their songs from the 60s, 70s and the 80s. As the Bee Gees belted out "Staying Alive," the girls walked slowly down the runway. As Julie Smith did a pirouette on the stage, she slipped on her high heels, tripped and fell over the side of the stage onto an elderly lady who was peering up at the young girls walking energetically on the platform. The old lady collapsed. Julie lost the heel of one shoe, injured her shoulder, and she had to be taken backstage to regain her composure. Meanwhile, the elderly lady was revived from her state of shock and she went on to shake her hips when the next song, Abba's Dancing Queen, started to play and the girls walked out in their summer holiday attire. The show was now coming to an end. The girls and their families were too excited. Who would be crowned Calcutta Christmas Queen? The judges were locked in a debate in the judging panel box, at the front of the stage. The winners were announced. It was not the result that everyone expected. The young and lanky teenage winner was Serena Brown. The first runner-up was Julie Smith and the second runner-up was Annabelle Smith. The Brown girls were overjoyed that their kid sister Serena was the winner of the Calcutta Summer Queen Award. The winner would receive a family holiday package from Taj International Travels with Taj International luxury hotel accommodation. In addition to this, the winner would get gift packs from 12 leading international fashion agencies. There was a photo shoot with an international advertising agency and an opportunity to go to the Scala School of Fashion and Design in Paris, with a job promised at a leading fashion house of Vanity Flame in New York. The Boxing Day Christmas match. Typhoon Ollie vs. Manny the Mandarin Tiger. Mary D. Cruz and her two boys Henry and Harry watched their father Oliver step into the boxing ring to fight the notorious Manny Caillou, called the Mandarin Tiger for his ferocity in the ring. The boxing ring was set up on the Maidan opposite Park Street on the day of the Calcutta Street Fair as a special treat for the people of the city by Alfred Dover, the well-known and loved Anglo-Indian mayor. The crowds were filling up on the Maidan. There was no spot of green grass in view. There were people of all the communities of the city waiting for this big fight to take place. Hundreds of people had brought their cameras to photograph the event. The Calcutta All India Radio and the television channel Calcutta News were present along with a number of international reporters from China News, British Broadcasting Corporation and Air America. Manny Mandarin Tiger was a global sensation and he was a regular boxer at Las Vegas boxing tournaments. The fight had begun. The two boxers slowly kept moving around the ring. There was pin-drop silence on the Maidan. It seemed that the traffic on Park Street had also come to a halt. Not a mosquito buzzed, not a crow cawed, and not a sound was heard for miles around. Everyone waited for the first punch. Then it happened. Typhoon Ollie gave Manny Mandarin Tiger a punch across the face, which sent him falling back against the ropes. The Mandarin Tiger recovered from the punch and came back with speed and punched Typhoon Ollie in the ribs. It had no effect. Instead, Mandarin Tiger got another stunning whack on the jaw by Typhoon Ollie. The fight continued. The crowds were cheering their hero Typhoon Ollie, as he kept giving blow by blow to the Mandarin Tiger. The two boys Henry and Harry were enjoying the crowds. The gamblers were placing their bets and it seemed that Typhoon Ollie was wiping the floor with the younger man Mandarin Tiger. The last round was now about to start. The gong went and the fighters, bloodied and bruised, came to face one another at the center of the boxing ring. The crowds were now wild with enthusiasm. Victory was now just a few minutes away for Typhoon Ollie. The next few minutes happened as fast as the flutter of the wings of a butterfly. Typhoon Ollie lunged towards Manny Mandarin Tiger, with a right jab, when he received a hit on the head. Typhoon Ollie fell to the floor motionless. It was a total knockout. The boxer on the floor did not move. Mandarin Tiger was ready to keep fighting. The boxer on the floor started to move. The referee knelt on the floor and spoke to Ollie. Ollie tried to move but could not get up. The winner was declared. Mandarin Tiger had won the fight. The ambulance staff jumped into the ring. Typhoon Ollie was placed on a stretcher. Mary D. Cruz and her 2 boys were with Ollie, as he was carried into the ambulance. Mary was shocked and her 2 boys were crying seeing their hero so lifeless and helpless on the stretcher. Typhoon Ollie was now holding his wife's hand feebly as he lay on the stretcher in the ambulance. Pickles and Jam's Christmas contest. Carlton Anson, the official photographer, was busy taking out the photos at the stalls for the pickles and jams. All the ladies and men were smiling and waiting anxiously for the judges to taste their preparations. At one corner was the honey stall, where the fresh honey was being sold. The honey stall also had live bees in a hive. There were 4 judges and there were 50 contestants ranging in ages from 15 to 80. The 40 ladies and the 10 gentlemen were patiently waiting for the judges to begin their walk down the stalls. The judges began tasting the pickles and the jams. There were crowds of people watching the judges doing their tasting and judging, as they scored the contestants. About 10 photographers and journalists were present, photographing the stalls, the contestants and the activity of the fair. As the judges were nearing the end of their walk around the stalls, there was screaming and shouting heard from the end of the field. A group of children had run into the honey stall, toppled the hive with the live bees, and now there were bees flying all over the field, with the people running for cover. Tables were now getting overturned, as people rushed out of the path of the bees. Luckily the bees flew away from the scene in 10 minutes, leaving a scene of chaos and confusion behind them. Finally the winners were announced. The teenage Smith sisters got the 2nd prize for their mixed fruit and guava jams. The young Brown sister got the 2nd prize for their lime and chili pickles. Marsha Jackson got the 1st prize for her mango and brinjal pickles. Jackie Smith got the 1st prize for her pineapple jams and marmalade. The stalls of the winners were crowded with people later buying bottles of the prize-winning jams, pickles and marmalades. End of the Christmas fair. The fair was over for the winter. The families of Calcutta were all happy to have taken part in this annual Christmas event. Everyone had their share of memories to take away from the day. Carlton Anson was the main photographer for the event. He was the official photographer. He had 3 Kodak professional cameras which he used for his photography business. Harry and Sons Photo Studio was the favorite shop for everyone in the neighborhood to have their photographs taken for special occasions. On the walls of the quaint photography studio, old Harry Anson had photos of his well-known patrons, all the popular and distinguished-looking British, Indian, Anglo-Indian gentlemen and ladies on his walls. He had 3 large rooms. The first was where he would receive his customers. The reception area was filled with sepia-colored portraits of gentlemen and women. The second room was the room where the photography was done. It was a room with a lot of thick, expensive-looking drapes and with 4 large spotlights. Behind the full-length thread drapes were a large collection of photographs in black and white, all encased in ornamental gold frames. There was a collection of movie photos on the walls. The young children would like to view the old photos which were taken out by Harry for the Tarzan movie, which was filmed in the Sundarbans, or the scenes from the movies The Jungle Boy and Xena the Queen of Dunyabad. Harry and Sons Photo Studio was now managed by Harry's 2 sons, Carlton and George. Both young men were married with families of their own. Harry stayed with his eldest son Carlton. The 2 brothers had built up the business into a successful enterprise, when their father handed it over to them. Harry and Sons Photo Studio was the most popular photographers for all weddings, births, christenings, anniversaries, festive events, passport photos and school term end photographs. George Anson was now developing the photographs in the large dark room they had in the last room of the studio. As he was developing the photographic prints, he realized that while his elder brother Carlton was clicking away photos at the annual street fair, he had unknowingly photographed the person who had set fire to the jewelry store. Darrow's and Sons jewelry store was burnt to the grounds in the fire. It was a case of arson, as the photos now revealed. The fire was caused by Lionel Darrows, the son of Winston Darrows, who could not keep the jewelry business afloat after his father died. It used to be the place everyone in the city would go to when they needed to buy jewelry for special occasions, like births, engagements, marriages and for birthdays. Lionel was a gambler and lost a lot of the money and property he had inherited from his father. Lionel's wife left with the 2 children when Lionel was arrested for selling fake jewelry. There was a photo of Lionel walking through the back entrance of the shop at 4:15 p.m. The fire took place at 4:30 p.m. There was another photo of Lionel leaving the back entrance of the shop at 4:25 p.m. with 2 empty gasoline cans. The cheese and pickle stalls were in front of the shops for the street fair. Carlton was a methodical photographer and he kept a record of the time he took out each photograph. Carlton Anson had unknowingly photographed the crime as he was taking snaps out of the pickle contest participants. George Anson lay out the developed photographs on his desk and picked up the telephone to phone Derek Vincent, the police commissioner, to inform him that he had solved the crime committed during the street fair. Boxer Ollie. Mary D. Cruz went with her 2 sons to bring her husband Oliver D. Cruz back home from the hospital. Mary met the doctors who had attended to Oliver. They gave her the bad news. Her husband would not be able to work as a boxer again. He now had boxer's dementia, which was similar to Alzheimer's diseases and shared many of the characteristics. Ollie had paid the ultimate price of being a pugilist. He could never go back to his normal life again. Mary knew that she now had to take care of her family. The boys Henry and Harry pushed the wheelchair their father sat in. Typhoon Ollie was smiling. He was happy that he was going back home to be with his family. Just outside the hospital, there was a large group of people who were now cheering Oliver. Typhoon Ollie was a legend of the city and he would always be a hero to every young boy who wanted to grow up to be a boxer. The Christmas miracle. The world gets transformed during Christmas. We need to carry the spirit of Christmas in our hearts throughout the year. Keep the flames of Christmas burning. It is only by sharing that flame of love, kindness and compassion, that we can enjoy its warmth forever. The miracle of Christmas will help to change our world, our lives and prepare us for new and fresh days ahead, as we see them rising to greet us over the horizon of a new dawn in the new year. Have a happy Christmas and a wonderful new year. Love, peace, hope and prosperity. From Three Christmas Coins, a Poem by Warren Brown. As each tiny snowflake falls onto the white blanket, silence fills the tiny lanes, the cobbled paths and stony streets. People are covered in thick coats, jackets and carry firewood. As the snow settles in the sprawling neighborhood, the tiny shops are now closing for the day. Every shopkeeper is content with the sales made, cheerfully prepared in their ovens and in their workshops. The Christmas goodies like cakes, sweets, and other delicacies have now found their way into people's homes and hearts. It's Christmas once again and happiness abounds, which spreads like a wildfire from cities to towns. There is a wisp of a snowflake here, a wisp of a snowflake over there. The shower of snowflakes never stop. They just collect over here and over there. The tiny snowflakes collect and collect, creating a thicker snowy white blanket. The pristine white sheet of snow which covers the tops of the houses and the church steeple. Now, cling to the shoes and boots of busy people. The miser Mr. Felix Copperhead shook his skinny hand and his head. All this snow was bad for business. Very bad for business it certainly was. It would all certainly end in tears. There were no footfalls in his shop. People rushed to work and then back home again, rushing through the blizzard and the rain. There is a wisp of a snowflake here, a wisp of a snowflake there. The festive sprays of snowflakes never stop. They just collect over here and over there. The tiny snowflakes gently fall and collect, creating a thicker, whiter, snowy blanket. Copperhead Philatelist and Numismatist was always open for business. It was owned by Felix Copperhead, who knew all about coins and his stamps, as emblazoned on his letterhead. He knew the value of his shop. He could trust no one to help him. The last fellow, Jerome Jones, he had employed, was now living near some garbage bin. After he was caught by Copperhead, with his hand in the biscuit tin, his employer was filled with anger that he could not overcome his hunger. Old Copperhead would hear no excuse, and he called in the local police to imprison Jones for as long as they would choose. Working on his own in his shop, managing it from front to top, was what he enjoyed most of all. In this way he watched his profits rise and not fall. Felix Copperhead loved to hold his coins. He would count them once, and then count them twice. He loved the feel of silver, copper and gold. He loved all the metal on his palm, so round and so cold. He polished his coins so lovingly, and admired them like Jason's golden fleece, as he watched his wealth increase. 1 coin, 2 coins, 3. He rubbed his hands with glee. 4 coins, 5 coins, 6. He now had a pile of coins in the mix. The sparkling coins would just increase his joy. There were times when he would dance like a little boy. The local parish carolers had arrived at his door, like they unfailingly did every year. He would open his old battered window, while yelling at them to stop those nasty sounds, and throw a handful of soil from his potted plant, as he did every year, while carrying on his rant. Yet, the next day on Christmas morning, Felix Copperhead would find a Christmas hamper filled with food and wine. This hamper he would then take, with no fuss or ceremony, and throw into the deepest lake. He loved to watch the value of his stamp collection increase. It extended his life and his lifespan increase. But he loved his coins most of all, as he grew them from a tiny stack to a 4 feet high coin wall. People were not coming in with their coins, now that the snow had started to fall. Every day and every night, the snow kept on falling. A sheet turned into a blanket, and then into a wall of snow. There is a wisp of a snowflake here, a wisp of a snowflake over there. The wisps of snowflakes never stop. They just collect over here and over there. The tiny snowflakes collect and collect, creating a thicker snowy blanket. In the morning the sun rose, followed by the darkness of nightfall. But Felix Copperhead counted his coins, separating the large from the small. Then, one night as the moon hid behind the clouds, there was a flash and lightning, when in the next instant Felix found that he was face down in the snowy ground. As Mr. Copperhead rose from the street, he dusted his clothes off the mud and sleet. But how did he come out here in the snow, when he was at his desk counting coins? In the pale light of the lamplit glow, he was just outside his shop. He peered in through the window, and spotted a figure huddled at his desk, peering at his coins with great interest. As he looked at the person with more intent, he was shocked at what he saw. It was a figure of himself that he saw. This kind of magic he had never seen. Some kind of phantom was at the scene. He was in two places at the same time, or so it would seem. He stood outside in the cold and in the snow. Yet, he saw himself through the window pane. Surely, he was not going insane. He banged the door and the window too. But no one saw or heard him in the frost and dew. From the road to the cities and the coast, he was now a living, breathing forgotten ghost. There is a wisp of a snowflake here, a wisp of a snowflake over there. The wisps of snowflakes never stop. They just collect over here and over there. The tiny snowflakes collect and collect, creating a thicker snowy blanket. Felix Copperhead now missed touching his coins. He would count them once, and then count them twice. He loved the feel of silver, copper and gold. He loved all the metal on his palm, so round and so cold. He polished his coins so lovingly, and admired them like Jason's golden fleece. As he watched his wealth increase, old Mr. Copperhead wished he was in his home and counting his coins. At the next instant he was inside his home, and standing beside his limp body and his coins. He went to catch his coins, to hold and roll them in his palms. But he could not touch the metal. His hand went through the table. Mr. Copperhead was now angry. He was desperate, he was furious. He was far beyond being curious. As he lunged and plunged his hands at the table full of stacked gleaming coins, he grasped the air. He clawed the table. Yet, his actions made no impression. He could not hold his coins. He clawed, he grasped and he lunged. He grasped, he lunged and he clawed. To no avail, to no avail. His anger he could not curtail. Dejected he moved out into the street. He huddled near some garbage cans. His home was not his, nor was his wealth. It was all taken by the impostor. Huddled over the coins on his table, Mr. Copperhead was hungry and cold. He went back in to sit beside the fire. But it did not warm him. He was a phantom trapped in a frozen body. He knew that he would not be missed by his two brothers Walter and Eric. Both men were failures and lived in poverty, with their large families. He had never spared a few coins for them, and knew that they would never forgive him. Felix Copperhead was an angry man. He was a lost, scared and lonely man. Jerome Jones came up to him in his rags, and offered him 3 glowing coins. "Take these," he said, "hold them in your hands. They will keep you alive and warm." Felix reached for the coins, he held them in his palms. Yet, his body was still frozen and cold. "You need to change your life, or you will surely die," said Jerome, dressed in his soiled and ragged clothes. "I will not change," said Felix, as he rubbed the coins in his hands. Still he got colder and colder. He was now shades of blue, bluer than the deepest blue. He had to change or he would surely die, the old miser thought to himself. as he saw life quickly pass him by. In the blink of his almost frozen eye. I promise to change, from this day forward. I promise to share my wealth with all those around me. I promise this, I solemnly declare. To be the first to share. To share everything I own. While to greed and avarice, I vow to vigorously disown. He was now ready to abandon his money chase, and to wholeheartedly his new life embrace. Jerome Jones came up to him in his rags, and offered him 3 glowing coins. Take these, he said, hold them in your hands. They will keep you alive and warm. Felix reached for the coins, he held them in his palms. They remained in his palms. He was now getting warmer. The 3 coins began to glow. Brighter and brighter they became, like a spark transforming into a large flame. But, Jerome, these coins are yours. I am sorry to have caused all your woes. Forgive me, I earnestly say. I will repay you everything today. I don't need the coins no more. The 3 Christmas coins are for you to share. The coin of peace will fill your heart, your life and your home with the blessing of Christmas cheer. The coin of love will fill your heart, your life and your home with the magic of Christmas cheer. The coin of charity will fill your heart, your life and your home with the joy of Christmas cheer. Today and throughout the year, there was a flash of light. There was a thunderous sound. Mr. Felix Copperhead awoke from his slumber. It was all a terrible dream, he did wonder. He was seated at his table. His gleaming coins were in front of him. He held the metal in his warm hands, and they made no difference to him. He longed to hold the 3 gleaming coins, which had filled him with peace, love and charity. But, where were the coins, he wondered. Perhaps, that fellow Jerome could find them for him. When Mr. Copperhead looked out of his window, he saw the lifeless body in the snow. He rushed out, he had to save the man whose life he had destroyed. But, when Copperhead rushed to Jerome's side, the man had gone to meet his maker. Mr. Copperhead made sure immediately and not later to give money to Jerome's wife and 3 children, who were filled with sadness and gratitude. Mr. Copperhead sent money to his brothers and their families, with hampers, parcels, turkeys and Christmas trees. Mr. Copperhead was a changed man. He shared love, peace and his wealth with everyone he knew. Every time he shared his fortune with cheer, with the underprivileged far and near, he could feel the warmth and Christmas cheer in the palms of his hands and in the depths of his heart. Felix Copperhead had forever given up his money chase, as his peace and love radiated on his glowing face. The 3 Christmas coins bestow their Christmas magic of peace, love and charity to all who share Christmas cheer with the poorer folk from far and near. The local parish carolers had arrived at his door, like they unfailingly did every year. But, things were very different this year. They were treated with happiness and Christmas cheer. Every carol singer was happily entertained and told to dine, then offered a slice of Christmas cake and red wine. The 3 Christmas coins bestow their Christmas magic of peace, love and charity to all who share Christmas cheer with the poorer